If you could give one piece of advice to a developer starting a new project tomorrow, what would it be?
Make sure the numbers work.
Marketing
I love
can get
that.
expensive. Man. Exactly. Yeah.
Live from the lounge, we're talking in real time. New vibes, bold minds, and stories that shine. From chats to laughs, where ideas thrive. So kick back, tune in, we're going live. So kick back, tune in, we're going live.
Welcome back to Live from the Lounge, everyone. Today, we're coming to you live from Oliver Bainbridge. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Ariel.
And we definitely were on quite the journey this morning to get here, weren't we?
We really were. I had to wake up really early.
Me too.
But we
yeah.
got to cross the water. That was fun.
No, it was so much fun. It was beautiful. The mountains were out. It is gorgeous sunshine day. It's been so fun so far.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So today we are at Oliver Bainbridge, which is a 67 apartment home complex. And we're just a short walk from Winslow and the Bainbridge Ferry, which is so amazing. And it makes Oliver an amazing connection to Seattle and beyond.
Yeah. And speaking of connection, the whole premise of Life from the Lounge is really just kind of being together and bringing people together who might not have been in the same room. So that's fun. But we are here in the lounge at Oliver with none other than the person who brought the concept of Oliver together and helped develop it, and the graphic designer behind the brand. So we're excited to have both of you here. We have Jessie, graphic design extraordinaire and visionary, and Greg, a local developer here on Bainbridge. Thank you so much for both of you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
We're really excited. Greg, this is the first time we've had a client on the podcast. How does that make you feel?
Wow, pretty special.
Yeah. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yes, I feel like I should be, accepting my Oscar up on that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thanking
exactly.
The
Yes.
Academy, your family. For
Absolutely.
getting you
It's
here.
at that same level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and Jessie, how do you feel?
I mean, I feel like I finally made it.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. It's
Wonderful.
a big deal.
Well, we're so excited. We're going to kind of start off with kind of talking a little bit about where we're at today. So we're here on Oliver. We're here at Oliver. JH kind of mentioned the proximity to Winslow, the proximity to the ferry, so very accessible. And so what I'm curious, Greg, is, for the first project that you and Jessie have done together, we kind of tried to go, new development, maybe like luxury, but quiet, modern, something. This definitely isn't like a Seattle mid-rise, high-rise type of vibe. So in the midst of like planning and permits, how early did you start thinking about branding? When was that like a thought for you?
Actually awfully early. It's interesting because my partner, Mike, here on the island, he is a very long time islander. I'm not saying I'm old, or I'm old, sure, but he's been here longer than I have. And he has a real interest in history in general. So just like if I can back up a moment and just talk about, we did the Sophie in Paulsbo. That has a historical meaning to that branding. And then here, the Oliver is the same thing, where Oliver was the last name of the family. It's not somebody's first name. It was the last name of one of the prominent early families on Bainbridge who homesteaded this land that the site is on. So I think that was probably swirling around in our heads, maybe not explicitly, but for a while. And then when we really started teaming up with your marketing team, what was it? Maybe a year before we opened?
It was about a year.
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, I mean, we even have the mural on the face of the clubhouse, which that was Mike's idea, and really kind of following this chronology of history, starting really early, like woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
And really moving chronologically through up until the present day of Bainbridge Island history. So it was really fun kind of coming up with some ideas and really kind of celebrating the history of the site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the mural kind of going up and then making sure that the Oliver logo was the center of that,
Yeah.
which I think also speaks volumes too.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Jessie, from your side, before you even started designing Oliver, what were you really looking at first? Like, did this project feel different from some of those main projects in downtown Seattle?
I mean, I think the main difference I noticed right away was when I met with you and Mike was the connection to Bainbridge, to history, especially with Mike really wanting to focus on that and make sure you were respecting the people that lived here and also blending in well. And I think a lot of it was respecting the neighborhood. I know you had people that were interested and wanted to know what you were building. And I think naming it Oliver was a really beautiful, respectful way. I think we've done a great job of branding. And I think a lot of it was research too, because I dug in. I went to like the historical museum and I have lived over here for a handful of years, but it was important to kind of dig in and know more about the history since it was an important thing for the clients.
I think one of the main words that we often speak about when we reference you or your projects is you're very intentional. So I'm curious, Greg, when you started working with Jessie, did you ever have a moment where you were like, oh, there's way more to this than I initially thought? Like, it's not just a name. It's not just a story. There's way more that's involved in bringing that actual concept to life.
Yeah, I think so. And, another thing that we did to kind of honor the history and the historical context is here in the clubhouse right down the hallway. And we worked with some designers to come up with not a mural, what would you call it? Maybe a photo collage, a historical collage over there, and really kind of speaking to that and really just honoring the history. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out also to how important the font is in a logo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool. And I'm trying to remember, I think you kind of took cues from almost like old national park posters, if I
the
remember.
Inspiration was very much like national parks and focusing on the nature of everything. And it was really nice to work with you all because I felt very connected. Like you really like held our hand through the branding. And I feel like in a good way that we were able to make it still like speak to what I felt was like true and then what was true to you all. And I think we did a good job together. So
I agree.
I love Oliver. It's my baby. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you guys have kind of worked together, what has been the most common disconnect, Jessie, do you think, between what clients say and what they actually want?
I think for me, sometimes words and visuals are different from designers versus someone who doesn't speak the language of a designer. So especially when it was in the beginning process for this, it was with Mike and also with Greg. So it was like two people having to get them to come together to agree upon something, but also kind of digging in deeper and asking deeper questions about what they meant with that word. Or a big thing I love to do is like, what is your example of a good brand? Or what do you like when you are speaking to that word of like sophisticated or refined, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering, Greg, when a designer like Jessie maybe has a different opinion or approach to maybe what you have in your head of like what the vision is, how do you encourage pushback? What I sense is you very much so trust Jessie and just her vision and her craft and her creative. And so do you welcome pushback from her as the designer of your brand? Or are you very much so like, no, I know what I want and I just want her to do that?
Oh, no, we absolutely want that pushback. I mean, that's an important part of the creative process, really is, and that's why you hire professionals like this is to, have that, I don't want to say creative tension. I know that's a term. There was never any tension, but pushback. Absolutely. I mean, that's what results in a better end result. Yeah. No question.
For sure. So with the success of Oliver, we're now encroaching on the development of the Westerly. So I know Westerly in Poulsbo. Tell us a little bit about the Westerly and why Poulsbo. You spoke about it a little bit with the Sophie. So why back in Poulsbo?
Yeah. So, that is our upcoming project. Going to deliver that later this year, and that was a fun process. I want to say the Westerly is probably my favorite logo of the ones that we've done.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's super cool. And little background on it: the site is one that Mike has owned for many years. It's a challenging site because there's a lot of topography to it. So it's a 13-acre site. 10 of those acres are not even buildable. There's a big drop off, steep slopes, all that sort of thing. So we're only developing 3 out of the 13 acres. It's a wooded setting, so it's very pretty, and it's perched up pretty high up on a hill. So hence the name, the Westerly. That is based on westerly views of the Olympic Mountains.
Yeah, we were talking about that before filming. Yeah, about the mountain view and how you really kind of want to showcase that.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
exactly. And I like it too, that the Westerly logo, it's, the Sophie and Oliver were, I don't want to say formal, because I still feel like, Bainbridge and Paulsbo pretty, relatively casual places, but, somewhat more kind of buttoned up logos and branding. And the Westerly, just the font of it feels a little more playful. Yeah. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And it'll be cool to develop the full website. We just have the landing page as of right now. It's just the one page. Hey, sign up if you're interested kind of a thing. But certainly that's on the list for this summer as we get closer to opening our first building.
I would say Oliver and Sophie are maybe the more mature of the brand, and Westerly is maybe the younger sister, younger brother. Yeah, for sure. Yep. I like that.
I love that. And Jessie, how do you feel coming back for a second project with Greg? Are you excited?
I am very excited. I feel like Oliver was like a really great run to go through everything deeply with you and Mike. And this time around, it felt a lot smoother and easier, and a lot of like going back and forth in a faster way. And the thing about Westerly is I really love that logo too, because it's kind of something that was pulled out of me because of what you liked, and it was unexpected, but it's been really fun. So
I'm curious, what was the example that you had given her that kind of brought the logo to life? How did that come to be? What was the direction
that you maybe gave her?
I don't know that it was any direction. I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I mean, I kind of have to give the credit to her, because I don't really remember saying, "Oh, let's make it playful and casual." You just kind of came up with it.
Yeah, I don't think we went as deep as we did when we met for the Oliver, because I felt like this one was very important to Mike too, with the history and everything. And I think you guys were really ready to get Westerly going, but you kind of just talked to me, and I've lived in Paulsbo for the last 3 years. So I kind of just had a vision of what I felt you were speaking to, and it kind of worked out in the best way. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. I like that. Okay, we're going to take a super quick break, and we're going to kind of rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and you're going to answer them. The first one, are you ready, Jessie? It's for you. What is your biggest branding pet peeve?
Oh gosh.
Not so rapid. You got 5 seconds.
Okay, when someone doesn't know what they want at all.
Okay. Okay. I like it. Greg, small or large closets? We heard your particular.
Large. 100%.
And this is for the both of you. Safe or bold?
Bold.
Bold.
All right. We figured you would align on that one. And then speaking of bold, there is a lot always going behind the scenes when we're talking about branding or to promote brand consistency. And one of those things is social media. And that's a big thing on our end. JH actually runs the social for a lot of our lease ups or new developments. And she ran the social for Oliver. So JH, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was so fun. So I work on all of our lease up social medias, and it was so much fun when I saw that I was going to be doing Oliver, because I absolutely love the branding. I feel like with a lot of the social medias that I create, some of the branding can feel kind of stiff, and there's not much flexibility or ways that I can kind of meld it and change it. And with this brand, I feel like I really had a great playbook to kind of go off of, and it was really fun for me. We use brand kits on Canva, and that was one of the great ways that we like to keep consistency throughout all of our branding on social media, websites, all of those places. It's really great because I can just pull from the colors, I can pull from the fonts, and I can attach that to any template that I had already created. And then we've also been using Sprout Social for scheduling. So that was really easy for me. I was able to create it in advance and then post it all out, but it was really fun. I pull a lot of inspiration from the website and then, of course, the branding as well, but I love to go into Pinterest and kind of take what I think Jessie was thinking about and then kind of expand on it a little bit. So It's always fun for me to try to take whatever has come up in your brain and see if I can just like tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit different, but still maintain that normal branding. You can tell that it's Oliver on all different fronts. But Jessie, I'm curious from your design perspective, how do you trust someone once the brand leaves your hands and it goes to another creative? How do you trust that they're going to continue bringing that same brand to life with a larger audience like social media?
I mean, I put a lot of work when I build a brand book just as a tool, as something to reference and build off of. I like to show references of like how to use photography and typography through that. And I guess at the end of the day, you just pray that someone looks at your brand book and respects the hierarchy of fonts and colors. But I just try to trust that I'll see it down the line and I'll be happy with it. And you just never know what you're going to get.
I always love when you include all of the fun brand patterns because I feel like that's something that sometimes I don't always get when I'm doing social media. Using those brand patterns, I can really kind of expand what I'm doing and make things look a little bit different, a little bit more fun, take like a slightly quirky edge on things. So I think that's been one of my favorite parts of doing all of our social media.
Yeah. I'm curious too, Greg, for you, do you think about social media or just like the brand when you're thinking about your brands and the story and trying to elevate and continue to push the narrative of like Oliver, for instance? Is that ever a thought from a developer's mind of like, you know, obviously the day to day when we talk about performance marketing, we are talking about ILSs like CoStar and Zillow and you know, PPC and SEO. But do you ever consider social media and how that impacts your brand at all?
It's not top of mind for me, honestly. You know, it as a developer / owner, you wear a lot of hats, you know, and you interface with a lot of different disciplines, and there's a lot of consideration. So certainly, you know, as we've talked about the branding in general, the website, I think a lot about, and really, I know social media is a huge part of marketing today, and that's why I rely on professionals to make sure that it's seamless. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize too is along with, you know, building your brand, you're building a brand, right? So you want people to recognize out in the wild, like I've seen that before, and then it becomes a pattern of recognition. And I know with social media, a lot of people don't realize, you know, we are putting money into, there's a lot of time and effort and expense into a brand that you want that consistency because you want people to remember. And when we're talking about social, you know, we're constantly pumping dollars into the back end of platforms like Meta to really try to enhance that visual of the, not only just the brand, but the building. And then we're hoping that those people come through and then they want to live here, right? Because it's that they feel that like, oh, I already know this place, or I feel like I can envision myself here. So that's always really cool.
I think, it's fun because you don't always see that there are these advertisements going on behind the scenes. Like it might be just a pretty picture, but it is fun to know that we are able to promote the amazing community and showcase where we are to people. And then it kind of helps them find their future home, which I think is really something unique.
Yeah. Have you ever, I mean, I do this all the time when I'm like doom scrolling at night and I'm like looking at, you know, either Instagram or TikTok, and I'll see something and then maybe like a couple weeks later, I see it in real life unintentionally. And I'm like, oh, hey, like I just saw that on the internet. And so that's kind of the same intention that we have on the back end of your marketing, right? And making sure that we're drawing people to this place that you've helped create. So I also you know, what do you think developers should think about in terms of ROI? Do you think that branding has an impact on ROI?
absolutely. You know, a successful multifamily community, you know, as a developer, what makes it successful is a lot of different things. It's, you know, is the site good? Is the design good? You know, are the materials good, the finishes, the amenities, you know, all that sort of thing. And absolutely the branding is a key component of that as well, 100%.
Yeah.
So it's something I feel strongly about, and it's not something, you know, you can execute on a lot of those other things really well, but if it's just kind of blah branding, it's not like the project is going to tank or anything, but I do feel like there's incremental value there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jessie brought a couple of her Oliver mugs that she designed,
so
which I
cute.
think are cute. And I think the same. Like, I get so excited drinking out of a cute cup. So those are always cute. But Jessie actually she designed some hats. I think she gifted to you and Mike.
Yes.
The Westerly hats. I wear mine. When I tell you every weekend I wear it, it's just such a easy, quick.
Pictures.
I'll send Jessie a photo like, where in the world is my Westerly hat today?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's traveled to California with me. People ask me about it all the time. And I'm like, I can't wait to redirect them to a website soon. Right.
Mhm.
So I think that's the cool part about like branding, right?
It really
It
is.
doesn't just have to be on a website, or it could be on a piece of paper, on a coffee mug, on a water bottle. And then that's a conversation starter. So I
Yeah.
think that's always really
I think
fun.
it's so fun too, just like driving around, and if you see something that really catches your eye, you immediately are drawn there. Like when we were driving up to Oliver, I immediately saw it. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of other buildings that you're driving around, they can kind of just go by. You don't really notice them. They're just kind of on the side. But I love it when brands really stick out, call out to me, especially with like Westerly hat. Like, that's so fun to be able to bring it to different places and then kind of have that brand be shown so many locations. Which is
My
amazing.
hat goes with everything. I almost wore it today.
Mike wears his hat all the time.
Oh,
Actually, at his
good.
Westerly hat, I
Yay.
see him
I
wearing it
love
all the
that.
time.
Oh, I love
So,
that. Yeah, it's my
Yeah.
favorite. It's my favorite hat currently. It's in the top of
It's
my
a good one.
rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Greg, one last question. If you could give one piece of advice to a developer starting a new project tomorrow, what would it be?
Make sure the numbers work.
Marketing
I
can
love
get
that.
expensive. Can it? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Honestly, it all starts with that, right? It's us doing our spreadsheets and running the pro forma and making sure that financially it needs to make sense, because that is the basis for everything after that, right? So I know it's nuts and bolts kind of thing, not terribly exciting, but that's the reality.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that something you ever think about, Jessie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to make the numbers work, but I feel like my brain works very different. I'm a very creative person, so I just have to know when to stop. Like, perfection isn't a thing, and I think a lot of people that are designers want to reach that, and you could just keep going forever. So just knowing when it's in a good place and being happy with it.
Jessie, how many iterations of the brand for Oliver did you do?
We heard about
There's
about
been
it.
some water towers.
Oh,
we did do some water towers. I think that was really fun because it was, and I think a lot of it was Mike was very much like wanted the water tower to speak to the true water tower, and so my like icons and my simple like designs at first, he's like, no, we got to make sure that when people see this, they know what this water tower is about. And
Jessie
I'm proud
said-
of that water tower.
The
I think it
numerical
looks
number.
It turned out great.
What did she say about like 50
I think
iterations?
15 or 20 at some point. I pulled up the old art board from the beginning and I was like, I have a lot of water tower. Like I could do this again. You
She's
know?
a master of the water tower now.
But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
also kind of part me, or I have to stop myself because in the beginning of like design, you can really keep going and explore ideas. And I love doing that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I always feel that when I'm doing my social media designs, I kind of take like a few, like maybe 3 or 4, and then I'm like, maybe let's do like 5 more. And then I try to pull from there and then go. But it's so hard to not just make 20 different
Yeah.
designs because I can't make my
because
mind
sometimes
up.
you go back and it's usually the
Yeah.
first or second
Yep.
that actually end up working.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then she makes the mistake of asking me my input, and then I'll maybe say something completely different. And then
Mhm.
the
Like,
good thing
oh
is
my
she's
gosh.
had like 20 iterations before she even got to
yeah,
me.
I'm like,
So
okay, how about number 18?
Yeah, what is it,
And then
18
we're
now?
just on Canva together, working through it, and we see each other just kind of moving things around. And so it always works. Teamwork, right? I think that's
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
the theme of today and just projects in general. But with the success of obviously Sophie and then now here at the Oliver and going into the Westerly, what is maybe something that you learned that you from maybe this project that you intentionally want to do different at the Westerly? Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
That's a good question. I'm sorry. I'm kind of
Stumped
coming up
you?
with a blank.
It's okay. What about
Yeah.
Jessie? Is there anything differently, knowing now your relationship with Mike and Greg and kind of what their intentions are behind their product and what they're trying to bring to the community? And through you and your art, is there anything that you maybe learned that you can bring into this next project?
I think I just kind of feel like I understand Greg's point of view more, and it makes it easier for me to speak to him about things that could work for the new property. And he's really on it already. Like when I visited last week, he's like, we got to get on the website. We got to get floor plans going. Like, so he's aligned. And I think that's really refreshing. It's nice to have a client like, oh, come work with marketing with us. Like he's ready. He's ready to be a marketing team.
Well, it's always nice too to have, and I'm sure Jessie understands because I know floor plans are the bane of her existence. Probably all of us, honestly. We hate talking about floor plans, but I do think that it's always nice to have a client that thinks about floor plans and thinks about I think the design of them, but like physically on paper and like the branding. I think we, sometimes we work with brands that don't think about having anything but like a 2D floor plan, right? For visuals. And those sometimes when you have like a great brand like Oliver or like Sophie, and then you just don't have anything that's like relates to the brand, you don't have that consistency. And then when you're able to do like the 3D dollhouse floor plans to bring something more to life, I think that really helps just with the leasing as well. But yeah, it's always nice when clients are thinking about floor little details that really matter, but they're big details to us. Yeah.
Well, I think Jessie can attest to this where, well, to back up, ask any architect I've ever worked with, and they will tell you that I'm really picky about floor plan details. I never just have them draw them up. It's like, yeah, it looks good, and move on. Right.
Yeah.
Several iterations. And then when we get to the stage where it's marketing floor plans, I mean, you know this, right? You send me a draft. It's like,
yeah, we got to make
have
sure
all these red marks on here. They tweak this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then we go through about 3 iterations, but they turn out great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
in the long run too, I know your future teams that manage your buildings, they appreciate it. I think anything that you really care for. I mean, I used to be on site and I used to do, lease ups and manage those. And it's always hard when you're in the midst of, there's a lot that can kind of slip through the cracks when you're just trying to lease up a building and then you get stabilized and then your next team comes in to kind of manage the stabilized version of your building. And then they realize, oh, well, this floor plan doesn't match the physical floor plan that I'm seeing and I'm standing in right now. So when you're catching those things ahead of time, you're not just like cost saving, but you're really just, you're helping your future self is always how I like to see it. And there's so many times where like I've managed buildings that I've come into after it being leased up and I'm realizing that like, how did they lease? They were just, none of these floor plans match. And then you're having to go back and there's so much time and effort and teams that you're having to pull in to fix it all. So it's really nice to be able to kind of catch those things ahead of time.
Absolutely. On a funny note, we were talking about this last week where Westerly is actually only 5 floor plans and everyone is
that's amazing.
Elated about that.
2 buildings that are duplicates. So
yeah.
Amazing.
2 identical buildings. It's a rare thing. I've done a lot of large urban mid-rise projects over in Seattle. And I like to tell people that those types of projects, the reality is you have to design them from the outside in because there are so many outside, there's zoning things that you're having to adhere to. There's neighborhood groups. Everybody's got an opinion, set back the upper floors, take out this notch, blah, blah, blah. And you really kind of have to then, okay, here's our exterior of the building. Now we got to design the floor plans on the inside around that. So that's why on a typical mid-rise building, you have, 30 plus floor plans.
That's actually, I'm glad you said that. I've always wondered why that happens and I've never really known. Yep. So it's kind of like a puzzle. Like you've got the exterior and the border, right? And then you're just kind of, is aside from like, I'm sure it's like construction, there's a lot of like zoning things like you mentioned, but what is the main reason, I guess, then that buildings have kind of like puzzled together floor plans? Is it you're just trying to fit as many units in your building as possible, or is there like another reason?
That's pretty much it. And I mentioned earlier, the numbers, right? It all starts with the numbers.
Yeah.
So without going into developer speak too much, it all starts with the zoning and the usual thing that governs what you can build on a particular site. In most areas, Paulsbo is a little bit different, but certainly most areas around here, it's called FAR, or floor area ratio.
Okay.
And it's basically the ratio of your building area divided by your total building area, not just your rentable of your units, but
Yeah.
you have to include the hallways and the common areas and above grade parking structure, all that kind of stuff, divided by the square footage of the site. So each site has zoning and maximum FAR. So to try to make the project work, make the economics pencil, you're always trying to get as close to that maximum allowable FAR that you can.
Okay.
And then you start with that, but then a lot of times there's public processes, there's design review boards, where it's like, oh, we want you to set back these upper floors and we want more modulation, which is like in and out of the exterior facade. So that's
Yeah.
why you end up, even if you just like, above the second floor, it steps back 10 feet and then it's just a straight line. The reality is the facade is going in and out and that sort of thing. And those are really what drives dozens of different floor plans
Okay.
because you're having to design it from the inside out, like I
Okay.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I never knew that, and I've
I
always
know.
wondered.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I learned something.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of things.
Yeah, I
today.
learned a lot of things today too.
Same.
Well, we're really excited, and we're really grateful that you joined us today, Greg and Jessie, you as well. Any last words? Anything that you would like to say?
Yeah,
Thanks, the
excited.
Academy.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be on this and love working with Jessie and the rest of the Thrive marketing team.
Yes,
So.
we love working with you, Greg, and Jessie, of course. We don't have a choice. No, I'm just kidding. Well, thank you
don't.
so much, everyone, for listening. A reminder that you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Live from the lounge, we're talking in real time. New vibes, bold minds, and stories that shine.